If you're an engineer and you're just starting out your SaaS business, or you're at that point where you're thinking about what's the right idea to pursue, but you know you really want to build a SaaS business, I know it can be really daunting. There's so many opportunities out there. There's so many competing products out there. It can be really daunting on what's the idea that you actually start building. Because the worst thing to happen is you spend 8 months building the wrong product because you spend 8 months building it, and then you take it out into the market, and then you realize no one wants what you are selling. So in this episode, I'm going to walk you through 7 proven ways to actually pick the right SaaS idea, to validate it, and then build it so that you can actually accelerate your path to product market fit and to that next stage of growth. Intro. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Unstoppable. I'm TK, and on this channel, I help SaaS founders like you grow your SaaS businesses faster with an unstoppable strategy. Now, if you're new to this channel, welcome. I drop an episode every single Sunday with actionable strategies and tactics from the trenches on how to actually grow your SaaS business faster. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and that bell icon where you'll get notified every single time I drop an episode with the TK energy. Now, if you're already part of this community, if you're part of my SaaS go-to-market coaching programs, my people, welcome back. It's really awesome to see you over here. Let me set some context. You might be watching a lot of these videos that say, here's 5 great SaaS ideas. And I've seen those too. And the thing that always goes through my mind is, if these are such great ideas, why are you not building them? Why are you telling people about it? If it's such a great opportunity, why are you not doing it? Clearly, that's what you should be doing. So I'm always skeptical about those kind of videos where people just say, here's 5 really great ideas. So I hate those kind of videos. At the same time, I also know that SaaS is very competitive. And whenever there's competition, there's also great opportunity. So there are a lot of great SaaS ideas out there. And so over the years, in my journey as a SaaS founder and a SaaS coach, I've developed a framework on how to think about SaaS ideas, how to validate SaaS ideas. I get a new SaaS idea every single day, but I don't pursue any of them, barely any of them, because I have a framework to actually validate them and pick the ideas that really make sense. So my history in SaaS is my last company was called CowDApp. I started it in my second bedroom while I had a day job and I was working on it on the side. Eventually the idea came together. I went from bootstrapping it all the way to raising from the likes of Andreessen Horowitz and then selling it to a company called Marketo, which is a market leader. Since then, I've started to coach SaaS founders. I've worked with over 250 SaaS founders, and I've helped them go from pre-revenues to initial revenues to $1 million ARR to $3 million ARR and beyond. In fact, there's something really cool that I had to do this past week. In fact, let me just show you because this is really cool. And then I'll get to the actual ideas and the framework. We've had so many of the founders that I work with and that I coach get to that $1 million ARR and get to that $3 million ARR. I actually started building out and sending out these trophies. So all these trophies, each of them the small one represents a company that got to $1 million ARR after working with me. And then it represents companies, the bigger ones represent companies that got to 3 million ARR. That's been the track record that I've been following to actually help founders. In addition to that, in the last year alone, I started on 2 SaaS ideas and took it from idea to revenues in the past 12 months using the same exact framework. So I know a thing or two, and I'm gonna be teaching you the framework that I use. Not SaaS ideas, because quite honestly, if I had great SaaS ideas, I would just do them. Unless I explicitly said, I'm never gonna do this because this is totally not interesting to me. But I'm gonna teach you the framework that I use to pick the ideas, to validate them, and then go build them, and then drive to revenues. So if you're excited to dig in, go ahead and smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It just loves it when you do that. And let's dig right into it, shall we? So the first thing I want you to understand is I'm an engineer. I started with engineering and coding products and probably coding too many products before I learned this framework. And so I always think in terms of equations. And so principle number 0, before I get to the 7 proven ways, is this is the equation that I follow to validate a SaaS idea. I get a lot of SaaS ideas, but here's how I validate it. Here's what makes for a successful SaaS business. The first part of it is you need an urgent and important problem. It needs to be urgent for the market that you're going after, a group of people that you can actually identify, and it also needs to be important to them. If it's just urgent and it's not important, they won't take action right away. It'll be hard to sell. If it's important, but it's not urgent, again, it'll be important, but they'll eventually get to it. It's harder to sell. You need both. Whenever it's urgent and important, then you know you're talking about a problem that they really need fixed right away. And you want to align your software along that. The second piece that you need is go-to-market. Some people also refer to this as distribution. So distribution is essentially how distribution, there we go. It's hard to talk and spell at the same time sometimes. So you need the urgent and important problem to go after a specific market, but then you also need the go-to-market motions to be able to reach those people. If you're choosing a market that's impossible to get to, impossible to market to, while you might be able to sell one or two items, you won't be able to scale the SaaS business, and therefore it won't be very profitable and won't really churn out cash, and it won't really be a thing that you can actually quit your day job for or actually earn a living off of or even raise venture capital for. So you want to make sure you can actually reach these people through a go-to-market machine. And the last thing that you need, again, because SaaS is so competitive, it's really hard to compete with existing solutions that are well known. It's equally hard to compete with a spreadsheet, which means that your product needs to be 10x better. So you need a 10x product, meaning some aspect of your product needs to provide a 10x better experience in solving this urgent and important problem. So that's pretty much it. That's the core equation that I look at. And when I dig into these 7 ways to actually pick the right product, the right idea, I always go back to this equation. And it kind of simplifies down to market, go-to-market, and product. I call it essentially my MGP framework. The better the market and the better the go-to-market and the better the product, the higher the probability that you're going to be successful with your SaaS business. So often I see people saying, you should start a SaaS business, and they're pitching to people that aren't even engineers. It's like I always say, don't start a rocket company if you don't have a rocket engineer on the team, or you can't hire a group of rocket engineers. It's really hard. It's the same with SaaS companies. So if you're an engineer and you're thinking about starting a SaaS business, that's incredible because I've done that. It's changed my life. You always want to pass every single idea through the MGP framework. So now, given that, let's break down the 7 key ways that you can actually create your own profitable SaaS idea. And so I always break it down to MGP, market, do they have an urgent, important problem? Go-to-market, can I actually reach them? And product, is there a 10x product? So we just talked about that equation. When you're picking a SaaS idea, more often you're really talking about the market. Here's the biggest mistake that I see people make. They start building a product. And trust me, I'm an engineer. It's so easy to download the latest React framework, starter kit, SaaS application, boilerplate, and just say, cool, I'm just gonna go build this thing. It's so easy. It's also gratifying. I love coding too. But you don't wanna start with the product. You almost always wanna start with the market. So there's 7 proven ways that I'm gonna show you to actually create the right SaaS idea and then validate it, is always starting with the market, not the product. It's not the other way around where people usually go wrong. When you start with the product, you essentially end up spending months building a product and then saying, I'm gonna go take it to the market, and then trying to find a market that actually needs your product, only to realize no one wants it. So we always start with market and figuring out whether it's an urgent and important problem. So now you're like, all right, TK, how do I know if the idea that I have is an urgent and important problem? You can see how I always filter through this, and that's why 99% of the ideas that I think of or come across, I just say, no, that's not worth it. At the same time, when I picked the 2 SaaS companies that I started over 12 months ago, it's actually not over 12 months, it's about 12 months. One was slightly above 12 months, one was right at 12 months. When I started those, they passed this filter, which is why I said, yeah, I wanna go build these, and now they're generating revenues. Like, that's why this works. So you might be wondering, all right, how do I figure out an urgent and important problem, and therefore that's my SaaS idea? And then I can go do these other pieces. You don't want to start with product. Here's how you do it. This is where the 7 pieces come into play. So let's pick a different color marker, and we're just going to number these, and I'm going to go through these. 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7. I first listed these out because I've seen these play out with the over 250 founders that I coach. I've seen this play out in my 15-year career, but then I reprioritize it based on what gets the best ideas and then goes to the least likely. So I'll go in that order. Now, sometimes YouTubers are like, I'm gonna leave the best for last, so you watch the whole thing. Well, that's not what I'm doing. I'm just gonna give you the most impactful ones first. And then what I'm gonna walk you through is once you have identified your SaaS idea, you still don't code it. I'm gonna walk you through what you need to do to go validate it. So we'll talk about that as well. The first way that I've seen, it's a proven way to create profitable SaaS companies and pick the right idea, is to go on your own domain knowledge. What does that mean? Domain knowledge means you have been doing a certain job and you have encountered a certain urgent and important problem. which means that you can actually build a SaaS product that solves your own problem. Now, there's a caveat here. You want to make sure it's your own domain knowledge plus 100. What does that 100 mean? If you have a problem, you're like, TK, to me, this is urgent and important. I've seen it firsthand. I would pay for this. Before you actually build the product, you want to find and make sure there's another 100 people that you can identify. That's what we call a market, who has the same urgent and important problem that you have through your own domain knowledge. So if you're an engineer and you code all day and you've seen people across the aisle on the sales side have the same problem, you're like, I can build a product for that, great. That means you have domain knowledge, but now you want to find another 100 people that agree with you on that same domain knowledge and that insight. So that's the number one way. The most successful companies, the most successful founders, in fact, with these trophies that I'm talking about, a majority of these founders built something out of their own domain knowledge. They were working on this, encountered the problem, realized another 100 people have it, and then started to actually build out their go-to-market and their product to actually scale their business. And that's why they're so successful. Using your own domain knowledge, solving your own problem, but putting it through the filter that there's another 100 people that would actually have the same problem is the best number one way to proven way to actually choose the right SaaS idea and to build great SaaS products. The second way that I've seen is to go from services to product. I've seen this very often where we have founders that had a consulting company, they had a services business, they had an agency, and they were solving a very specific problem over and over and over, using their time and using their team's time for a specific market. And what they realized was they could build internal tooling and an internal product to do that job and to automate that job. And what they did then was they sold that product to the same clients they were selling the services to, and over time, they switched from being a services business to a proper SaaS business. They kept selling the same product over and over for solving that problem over and over instead of services, which is basically trading time for money. Nothing wrong with that, but that's a great way to figure out domain knowledge if you don't have it yet. And that's the second most common way that I've seen founders discover great SaaS ideas and be successful in getting to revenues and scaling. The third way that I've seen is to disrupt an existing product that's on-prem. And believe it or not, in 2023, we still see this, and take it to the cloud. Overall, if you're a new business, if you're a large enterprise, across the gamut, most of them have adopted cloud in one shape or form, meaning they're actually paying for software as a service, SaaS. But there's still a huge portion of the world that's running on what we call old legacy software. This is on-premise software. This is for specific verticals. This is for specific use cases. And I keep meeting founders who come from specific industries where they say, look, it's still running on on-premise software. They haven't moved to the cloud. It's 10-year-old software. That company is dying. So we're gonna sell them software that's in the cloud, that's cheaper, brand new, that's easier to use, and 10 times better. So these are folks that identify the urgent and important problem, but realize they're not really being served really well. And the way they disrupt them is going in and saying, look, you don't need to renew this legacy software. You can just buy it for $9 a month or $100 a month, and you can just subscribe to it and it'll be brand new and it'll streamline their entire workflow. And that's one of the great ways to actually identify an urgent, important problem. Figure out who's already buying software, but it's on-premise or legacy software, and build a 10 times better product for them and go to market to them and actually sell it to them and say, look, we'll just move you to the cloud. That way there'll be total cost savings and it'll be just better software and it'll streamline your entire business. So that's the third most common way I work with founders who have great ideas and are successful in getting to revenues. Now, before I go to number 4, number 5, number 6, and number 7, these are the additional ways you can identify great SaaS ideas. And then we're gonna talk about how do you validate your SaaS idea. Let me just pause here for a second. Are you starting to see the power in this? Are you starting to see the power of this MGP framework? Don't start with product, start with market. A market has an urgent and important problem, and here are the key ways to identify urgent and important problems, and I'm gonna give you 4 more right after this, and then I'm gonna teach you how to validate. If you're starting to see the power in this, can I just get a yes in the comments below? And also smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It just loves it when you do that. Also, if you're in this stage where you're like, okay, I'm gonna do this. If you're like baby TK, I was like working at a job, I didn't love it, I knew I wanted to code and build my own SaaS product and launch my SaaS business and gain the independent life that I want, and then maybe raise venture capital or build a bootstrap company. If you're in that stage where you're like, look, I definitely want to build a SaaS business, but I want to dig into this even more, even beyond what I'm going to cover in this video, then after this video, make sure you grab a copy of my 5-point SaaS growth strategy guide. It's a guide that really breaks down the key steps to building and scaling a SaaS business. business. It's an incredible guide. It's completely free. I'll link to it below and I'll tell you more about it at the end of this episode so you can dig in even more. Let's go to number 4, shall we? All right, number 4 is really awesome, and I've met so many founders, so many incredible founders who followed this one. Number 4 is they disrupt an existing SaaS company, but they bring it to a specific niche. So for example, let's take CRM. That's an existing SaaS category. Let's take Salesforce or HubSpot. That's an existing category for SaaS that serves a wide variety of businesses. An example of this is creating a CRM just for veterinarian clinics, or creating a CRM for mobile notaries, or creating a CRM for SaaS companies, or creating a CRM specifically for services businesses that sell social media marketing for small businesses. This is a case where you can take these broad SaaS offerings and you can say, look, that's great, but I'm going to create a SaaS offering for a subset of the market, because that subset of the market still has the urgent, important problem. CRM, for example, customer relationship management, is a proven urgent and important problem, so the market exists, but I'm going to go find an underserved segment of the market and really double down in there. And I've worked with founders who, for example, that veterinary CRM, they run a veterinary clinic and they're like, all the other CRMs suck. And we built our own. It helps us run our business better. So we're gonna build it. Super powerful. So they kind of took the domain knowledge and disrupted an existing niche, which is super, super powerful. So that's number 4. Number 5, this is where it starts to get harder. You notice like these are the easiest, this is net new, and then you start to disrupt existing ones. It's harder to disrupt existing ones, but it's very much possible. So you can also disrupt an existing one. So you can say, I'm going to disrupt the CRM market, but I'm not going to niche down. I'm going to be broad. So I'm going to do CRM for businesses, like keep it broad, like that's a broad market, but I'm going to make the software so it's fewer clicks. Fewer clicks is one of the greatest competitive differentiators in SaaS. So for example, every SaaS product solves a problem. It solves an urgent, important problem. Now, to solve the urgent, important problem, let's say the user logs in and then they get some sort of a result that solves the problem. In the traditional SaaS player, let's just say Salesforce, it takes 50 clicks for us to actually book a deal and navigate a deal. If you can build CRM software that does it in fewer clicks, if you're like, look, you don't have to log anything, you don't have to create any opportunities, you don't have to enter any data, we'll just follow you around all day, we'll listen to all your phone conversations, we'll listen to all your Zoom calls, we'll listen to all your emails, and we'll create all the opportunities for you, log all the data for you, forecast for you, it'll all be automatic. It just takes 1 click. Instead of 100 clicks, it takes 1 click. Would you buy? Would you at least try it out? That's one way to differentiate and disrupt an existing player. Fewer clicks. And that's actually very powerful. Sometimes this gets positioned as we'll just automate it. Sometimes this gets positioned like we'll add an AI assistant that does it for you. And sometimes it's literally like you just don't have to worry about that anymore. We'll just do it for you. You don't have to think about it. We'll just sync your data and it's all automatic. You'll just get a report. You'll just hiring this robot. So there are different ways to position this when you go to market. But ultimately what you're doing is you're looking at the existing solution and realizing it takes 100 clicks to do something. And you're building the 10x product that says we're going to do it in 2 clicks. And that's what's going to be game changing. So you go to every customer that is a customer of that entrenched player and you disrupt them saying, look, you can keep doing it that way or you can use us and it just takes fewer clicks and we get better results. And by the way, we are new, so we're cheaper. So do you want to give it a try? There's no risk to you. And it's a compelling offer at that point. So that's the number 5 way. And this is happening more and more now, especially now we're seeing a platform shift in SaaS. It's going from cloud to AI plus cloud. So you're starting to see a lot of these workflows getting changed up by making it less clicks and making it a lot more streamlined, a lot more automated, which is really, really cool and a huge opportunity for you. Number 6, this starts to get less and less interesting, but still works really well. Just be a fast follower. You can just literally find another startup and you can clone them. If they are doing well, then you can clone them and you can find some way to differentiate between them in terms of a 10x product. And you can have just as much of a distribution strategy and you will be picking a really great idea, because if they're doing it really well, and you can build a product and a go-to-market just as well, then you can compete with them and the market's probably big enough. So that's one of the easiest ways to validate an urgent important problem. If they're doing it well, might as well copy them. Now, copying is one of those things where just because you copied their product doesn't mean you can actually beat them, because companies compete in different vectors. So it's not guaranteed you'll be successful, which is why I put it as number 6 instead of number 1. Everyone thinks like, oh, we'll just copy them. But it's like, look, you can copy them, but by the time you get to where they are, they're going to be going to where they're going to be because they're original and they are innovating. So it'll be a race you'll never win. But maybe there's a way to win it. So that's something for you to think about, which is why it's number 6. Not as powerful as number 1 or 2 or 3. And the final one, which is kind of a genius one, it's also a very evil one. It's disrupt a Series B company. If you are familiar with venture capital, you get a seed round. Seed round is when you kind of have initial revenues and you need to like get to a proper go-to-market machine and like really invest in it. Series A is you have a go-to-market machine, you need to scale it. Series B is you have a scalable go-to-market machine. When you put in $1, $2 comes out. A Series B startup is actually really young, but also very validated. That's why investors invest in them. Series B is usually a $20 million, $30 million, $40 million round, depending on market conditions. The reason they're raising that Series B is this proven product market fit, and they've proven that they're solving an urgent, important problem, and they've proven that they have go-to-market. So you can literally copy all of that. And they've also proven that it's a very large market. Otherwise, venture capital wouldn't be investing in them. So you can just go in and say, look, we're just gonna do what they're doing, and we're just gonna, all that hard work they did between seed, Series A, Series B to figure out the market, we can just take that and we can compete with them. We already know what the product is, we know what the urgent, important problem is, we have some clues on what the go-to-market is, so you can go compete with them. Again, this is kind of like number 6, where just because you decide to compete with them doesn't mean you're good enough to compete with them, but it's a great way to identify, hey, this is gonna be a really successful idea because they've already proven it. But they're not huge and well entrenched, that's why they're still at the Series B level, so that means there's still room for another player. And that's what makes them really vulnerable, and you could go after them. So those are the 7 key ways, the 7 proven ways to create profitable SaaS ideas. Now, here's the thing. I don't know about you, but because I can code, I've gone down rabbit holes before where I built a product, I worked on it for 8 months, and then I realized, oh my God, who do we sell this to and how do we sell it? Now we're gonna do sales and marketing. So over time, that was Baby TK. And over time, I've learned, okay, you need to actually sell it. You need a proper go-to-market strategy, and you need a 10X product, which is why I have this MGP framework, which is also why I encourage people to start with market. What's the urgent and important problem that you're solving for? And then go engage with those people, and then go build the product. That way you're not wasting months building the wrong product, and then go in this order. The reason I really say this is there's a certain math to this. So if you are picking one of these ideas and you have a SaaS idea, here's basically what you do next. Once you have the idea, you basically have to go validate it. Now, in order to validate it, you need to take this idea that you have, let's just say you have a certain idea, and you figure out what's your value proposition, what's the market you're going after, how do you actually describe the problem you're solving and what you're gonna be solving for. Then you need to go to market, meaning you go to that market and you need to talk to 100 people. The reason you want to talk to 100 people is because that's the only way you can statistically verify if this is truly an urgent, important problem. Even if there is an existing player, you're going after a Series B company, there's no proof that you can actually compete against that Series B company with a product that is going to be 10X. They might say, look, you're 2 people, they're a Series B company, your product's the same or not even there, so I don't know if I'm going to do it. To really validate that, okay, we don't do all the things that Series B company does, but we do the important things and we do it better, and ours is 10X better, would you want to buy? You need to go talk to 100 people to validate it. If you have your own domain knowledge, you're creating something net new in the market, you definitely need to go talk to 100 people and validate it. And the reason for this is basically the law of averages. Again, I take an engineering approach to this, so it's super ruthless and it's super simple, and it hurts also when you lay it out this way. You talk to 100 people, 10% of them will actually talk to you and engage with you. You reach out to 100 people, so you're gonna get about 10% of people say, yeah, I'll talk to you about this problem. I'll take a look at your mock-ups, or I'll talk to you and tell you if this is urgent or important, or if your product thesis is right. So you're gonna get 10 people. And by the way, this is true whether you have a product or not, meaning you could ignore all of my advice and just go build a product and not listen to me. Then you're gonna be like, cool, we need to now sell this. So then again, you're gonna go to market. You're gonna be like, we should market and sell. So then you're gonna have to go talk to 100 people. So might as well do it before you build the product and parallel track it. Like, that's kind of how this works. So the law of averages says only 10% of people that you reach out to will actually truly engage with you and have a deeper conversation. And then the Pareto principle says 20% will actually buy from you. So which means that only 2 people will actually buy or try your product, depending on what your offer is. So in order to really know if you're building the right thing, before you actually build it, you actually need to get that go-to-market together, figure out if you can get to 100 of these people. If you can convert them to actually 10 phone conversations or Zoom conversations, you can get 2 to prepay or pre-buy or do a trial or do a free thing. Any one of those things. And once you know this math equation, it essentially cannot be unseen. Meaning you can go code, but then 6 months from now, once that version is good enough and you don't fall in the one more feature trap, you're gonna have to say, cool, let's now do sales and marketing. Maybe you'll say, oh, I'll just post it on Hacker News, or I'll do an AppSumo deal. But here's the thing, that's not really gonna get you your ideal market. You wanna go after your ideal market that has the urgent important problem. But when you flip the model, and you start with market, what's the urgent important problem? Who are these people? And these are the ways you can develop your idea. Then you actually develop the go-to-market. It doesn't have to be sophisticated. You actually go reach out to these people and engage with them and get 10% to actually get into a conversation and 20% to say, yeah, like I'll buy it, or here's a prepay, or I'll be a design partner or something like that. And then you can go build a 10x product, and then you keep generating more conversations with another 100 people and another 100 people. What ends up happening is as you are talking to these people, you are getting better data on the market, and you're improving your market thesis, and you're improving your go-to-market, and you're building a better product, and it makes you more likely to actually drive to product market fit and revenues. And that's why I have all these awards. That's why I've been able to actually get to 2 companies that are revenue generating in the last 12 months, because this is the framework that I follow. Firstly, I validate that there's an urgent, important problem. Then I actually build out the go-to-market to engage with these people in a meaningful way. And then as I'm getting into conversations, I'm building the product. And as I'm building the product, I'm getting in more conversations because I'm operating the go-to-market and the product building at the same time. And therefore, as we're building it, we're getting more data, we're getting more insight, and that drives it to revenues faster because we end up validating the market as we're building the product. And quite frankly, we also end up building a better product based on market feedback. And that's the power in this. So to recap, now you know the 7 proven ways to actually create profitable SaaS ideas every single time. First, you start with the MGP framework: market, then go to market, then product. When you are figuring out if you're solving an urgent, important problem or trying to identify the right SaaS idea for you, here are the 7 key ways that you can actually pick the right SaaS idea. And then once you have picked a SaaS idea, then you should build out your go-to-market. Try to get into a conversation with 100 people, get to 10 real conversations, and out of those, get 2 to commit to a trial, to be a design partner, or to prepay and buy. As you're doing that, start building the product. And as you're building the product, get another 100 people and keep building the product. Get another 100 people and keep building the product. And that way, you're driving to product market fit with revenues, and you're also building a better product. So now you know the exact framework that I use and all the founders that I coach, what they use to get from pre-revenues to initial revenues. This is super simple, but it's super powerful. And it's very scientific because it doesn't have to be chaotic. You follow this process, it's a lot easier to actually navigate this Shawshank crawl to product market fit. Now, what you may not know is, TK, how do I actually figure out the right market? Or how do I actually build out my go-to-market so I can get into these 100 conversations? Or what is a 10x product? Like, what makes for a 10x product? These are all questions that I tackle in detail inside of my 5-point SaaS growth strategy guide. That 5-point SaaS growth strategy guide really focuses on this part of the puzzle. It really focuses on, once you have that idea or you're picking a few ideas, how do you build out that go-to-market machine to get into as many conversations as possible and actually drive to real customers as you're building the right product for them. So if you want to grab a copy of my 5-point SaaS growth strategy guide, which will help you flesh out this strategy and really put all these pieces into action, just go to getunstoppable.com/strategy. Getunstoppable.com/strategy. It's completely free. It's an incredible guide. It's got my best pieces of content on actually how to flesh out the strategy to grow your SaaS business. And it links back to all the other videos that I have in this YouTube channel so you can kind of navigate this path. So grab your completely free copy. It's an incredible guide. Just go to getunstoppable.com/strategy. getunstoppable.com/strategy. Also, if you got value from this video, please smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. We put a lot of love into these videos, and it means the world to us when you hit that like button because it tells YouTube that we're creating valuable content. Speaking of valuable content, we want to help as many SaaS pre-founders and founders like you to build incredible SaaS companies. That's why I put so much love into these videos. So please, if you're part of a Slack group, a WhatsApp group, if you have a co-founder, if you have a friend that you want to start a company with, if you're part of a community, if you're part of Twitter or LinkedIn, please share this video. It would just mean the world to us. Also, I drop an episode every single Sunday with actionable strategy and tactics from the trenches on how to build, grow, and scale SaaS companies. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and that bell icon, and you'll get notified every single time I drop an episode. And lastly, remember, everyone needs a strategy for their life and their business. When you are with us, yours is going to be unstoppable. I'm TK, and I'll see you in the next episode or inside the 5-point SaaS growth strategy guide. Link below. Take care, everybody.